Prince of Wales shared to celebrate his wife and her 43rd birthday, we saw a very different level of emotion. He wrote, "To the most incredible wife and mother, the strength you've shown over the last year has been remarkable. George, Charlotte, Louis and I are so proud of you. Happy birthday, Catherine. We love you." And signed it W. These are not declarations we're used to.
They're not, and actually you've got to think, would, Queen Elizabeth have written something like that about Prince Philip? I mean, we always quote that famous phrase that she said, "He's been my strength and stay all these years."
That's
that
about
was about as far
yeah.
as it went. But you don't forget, William and Kate are of a different generation. In fact, King Charles and Queen Camilla are of a different generation to those who came before them as well. This last 12 months has completely changed everything. A year ago, we didn't know that Kate was about to go into hospital for that major abdominal surgery. Then we found out that the King had that prostate operation, then his cancer issue, then Kate's cancer issue. And a lot of the medics, and in fact the chief executive of the Royal Marsden was saying this the other day, that the openness that the royal family have shown on all these matters, the operations and the following cancer diagnoses, has really helped, because it helps people talk about it, it helps people feel less isolated.
The Princess of Wales returned to work, marking her first engagement of 2025. She visited the Royal Marsden Hospital in London to meet patients and also to thank staff, because we now know that this is where she received her own treatment. And, Russell, this was a really significant return to form for her and return to work.
Yeah, very much so. And I think quite telling that she used her first engagement back. I mean, of course, we've seen her over Christmas at a carol concert with the rest of the family. We saw her at Wimbledon and at Trooping the Colour in the summer. But this is her first official engagement back in well over a year. And choosing to mix with patients, to thank the hospital staff, the doctors and nurses that had looked after her, I thought was a very nice touch to make sure that that was her first foray back into royal life. We
know that William is already a patron, but she is now joining him as a patron of the Royal Marsden. Obviously, they'll be delighted to have her. Are we expecting to see more of this kind of work from Kate?
Well, look, now they are joint royal patrons, as they are called. I think that's great news for the Marsden, because it's not just a hospital that treats patients, it's a hospital that actually does a lot of research into preventing cancer and finding new treatments. But I think having William and Kate as joint patrons, that's great news for the Marsden and all the wonderful work they do with cancer.
Talking of great news, Sarah, she shared the fact that she is in remission on a post reflecting on her visit that day. We didn't know that she was in remission. She's used very careful language thus far. Is this good news?
It's fantastic news, isn't it? So wonderful news for her, but also really reassuring and uplifting for those other patients that she met there. And as we saw her with her hand on the knee, holding hands with them, hugging patients, she was there as one of them. She understands what it is they're going through, and she was able to show real empathy, but also to show that hopefully, and not for everyone, of course, but you can come out the other side. And as she described it, there is light at the end of the tunnel. She's looking forward to a fulfilling year. Lots to look forward to this year, but very different. She also talked about the fact they're all sitting in a room having chemotherapy together. And she said that must be quite reassuring, because I had to do it quietly, in secret, on my own.
Absolutely, and that is very much a part of the shared experience for so many men and women who are going through their own cancer battles. To do that on your own, that must be very isolating.
Yeah, and of course that was necessary, because they wanted to maintain her privacy and confidentiality, and she will have had those supporters with her, whether that's William, whether that's her family members, for example. And she did talk about the Royal Marsden walking alongside her and William as they'd navigated this. And I think the fact that they're joint patrons is really important. As you said, William's been involved for a long time. Catherine now with her own knowledge. But it's also his knowledge, because it's not just about supporting the patients, it's also about their loved ones. And she said at one point, it's even harder sometimes for the relatives, family and friends of those who are going through this. And William and the children and Kate's very close family know that only too well.
What Sarah just said about the family element, Kate was talking about how the pressures of your spouse or your family, the children, of course. We had William talking about that to journalists when he was in Cape Town just at the end of last year, talking about his brutal year, how it had been the worst year of his life. And I think, moving forward, we've not only seen the fact that they're willing to bare their soul, I suppose. It's very different talking about cancer treatment, you know, your family feelings. We had William's announcement of Kate's birthday saying, "We love you." I mean, these are times that we've not seen before.
Plenty more still to come on the Royal Beat collection, but first, here's what else you can watch on True Royalty TV.
Join me, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, on The Royal Beat Back in Time as I dive into the history books with expert guests to uncover the scandals and secrets of the monarchy in years gone by. Queen Victoria's relationship with men delves into her close bond with Lord Melbourne and also her tense interactions with William Gladstone. Look back at the spectacular splendour when kings and queens are crowned in the history of coronations. He was the ultimate, and some would say the original royal rock star. Find out more about his dramatic life in The Duke of Monmouth, the Royal Rebel. You can watch all episodes of The Royal Beat Back in Time only on True Royalty, the home of Royal TV.
You're watching the Royal Beat collection.
Let's talk about his relationship with Catherine. And I mean, for a long time she was Waity Katie, but actually they seem very solid as a couple.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact is, I think the fact that they were friends first, they've shared so much since they met at university, from being friends to lovers to then having that long relationship, living together before they're married. You know, it was a great education, really, for somebody who's had to come in from the outside, where we've seen with, you know, how difficult it was for Meghan to come in from the outside. It's a hugely, slightly wacky world, the world of royalty. So she was able to build that and understanding. I think in their 10-year decade of marriage, it's been a huge success. She's a huge asset to the royal family. It's quite clear that when their time comes to be king and queen, they won't be young. He'll be, you know, he'll probably be in his 50s, and her too, but they're going to be a very elegant and I think do a great deal of good for Great Britain PLC, and I think they'll be a star couple, you know, for a very long time.
It's kind of the time span that the Queen and Philip had so secretly, we believe, wanted for themselves. How important will that be to the kind of monarch he becomes, the fact that he has been afforded this chance to grow with his family?
Hugely important. I think that the Queen was always acknowledged the fact that there needed to be time for William, and as the heir to the heir, he had that time to spend with his family. He stayed longer in the military, then he extended it to be a air ambulance pilot, and all of that time he was sort of having time with his family and having time to develop that relationship with his family, and I think he very much is a family member. And
obviously they've then got the responsibility of raising another future heir. Yeah. You know, George will take to the throne. He will be King George. How are they approaching that?
When they're in public situations, little George looks like he has the weight of the world on him sometimes. But William always whispering to him, talking to him, explaining things to him, I think, and that's very important. And also they're being allowed to live normal life, being raised in a London school, going to school, normal hours, meeting, having friends. And I think that's essentially the way they've raised their children, to be kind, be considerate, and, you know, I think that they're, you know, a credit to them.
Dickie, can I talk to you about the announcement that the Waleses are seeking a new hire, a CEO?
It's an interesting one, because in the past, if one looked at the CEO in the late Queen's household, I suppose the late Lord Chamberlain, David Airlie, was the CEO of the household. This CEO, it seems as though he's being brought in to, or she is being brought in to ease the pressure from the private secretaries, because at the moment and up until now, they have been responsible for everything, the way the household is run, the way the engagements is run, the way the office is run, in fact, everything to do with Prince and Princess of Wales, or late Queen, or King.
So if we look at what the core values that they're asking to see in potential candidates, they want discretion, humility, integrity and diplomacy, someone who's emotionally intelligent with a low ego, a strong self-awareness and an understanding of their impact on others.
Well, that's ruled me out for a start. I don't think I can get that job. But the CEO thing's really interesting, because you might correct me if I'm wrong, Dickie, but some elements of the royal household are, you know, they're obviously Elizabethan, they're obviously Edwardian, even Victorian in some aspects, but this is a young couple that are looking into the private sector. Normally the bosses of households would maybe be taken on secondment from a government office, but they said, no, we actually want someone from the private sector that can come in and do strategy. So it's like a business strategy. Where do we go?
He's playing on a global stage, and he really needs somebody in his household, in their household, that can cope with all of that. It's a lot, isn't it?
It's to cope with that and look to the future.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's towing that fine line between them sort of being a brand and a business and being a family and navigating that. I think there is the potential for tensions further down the line. It's a bold move.
Always.
It's a bold move. It reflects them wanting to, I think, shake things up a little bit.